This summer past, we journeyed to Prague, Czechoslovakia, to attend the International Transpersonal Conference, a meeting of philosophers, psychologists, anthropologists, writers, ecologists, and thinkers on global subjects. Throughout the conference, we were able to track down and interview some of the movers and shakers whose ideas and hopes will shape the new millennium. Prague was a fitting venue for this meeting, poised as it is at the center of European crisis and promise. It is a metaphor for the transformation of the planet and of human psychology that must take place if we are to provide a sane future for our children. I'm standing in the center of one of Central Europe's most beautiful and mysterious cities. This is Prague, Czechoslovakia, and I'm Terence McKenna. We're here to meet with some of the world's most outstanding thinkers to discuss science, spirituality, and the mounting global crisis. And it's fitting that we should meet in this, the capital of ancient Bohemia, for Prague and Bohemia have always stood for intellectual innovation, chance-taking, and the life of ideas. In the Jugendstil splendor of one of Prague's most famous concert halls, we encountered Richard Alpert and persuaded him to have lunch with us. Alpert, who now calls himself Ram Dass, is one of the most enduring figures from the American cultural upheaval of the 1960s. Alpert, whose career reaches from Harvard University to the plains of the Punjab, has transformed himself into a spokesman for humanity's ignored and downtrodden. And Ralph Abraham was sitting across the table watching me have this conversation, and when after Steiger left, Ralph leaned over to me and he said, "So you see, Terence, the mushroom is telling you that it can reach out and touch you anywhere." And I thought that was amazing.
Well, anytime you would like to or feel that you have the time to guide me through anything at all, I'd be happy to be your...
Excuse me, sir. You are not the famous Terence Mushroom McKenna. That is you, my friend.
It is.
I am aware of.
That's him.
It is.
Oh, how wonderful! Yes, pleased to welcome you on our Bohemian highway. I especially bring you very good black coffee and espresso. And if you may tell me, who is the attractive elderly gentleman you brought on your side on the companionship here?
This is Mr. Dass.
Oh, the MS Dawes, yes.
No, the Ram Dass.
Oh, the CD Ram.
CD Ram, yes.
CD Ram Dass.
The LSD
LSD Dass, yes, the one, yes.
Wonderful. Take this, it will be
thank you.
Very bohemian. And this...
I am so happy to be in your fair country.
Oh, my country, very fair, and happy to have the LSD experience. You know, you
What is your name? What is your name?
My name is Waiter.
Waiter, how do you do, Waiter? A pleasure.
Yeah, see you later. Okay.
See you later.
You don't think there's any... It would needs the external form of the mushroom?
It would never have happened for me. I only argue from my own experience.
Yeah, but you and I were both so thick in crap when it had, that's why we needed it.
Well, but there are a few others out there. We didn't corner the market on being thick in crap.
Yeah, but I'm talking about somebody like a Ramana Maharshi or somebody like that.
Oh, well, these people.
I mean, there are people.
Sure. But the idea is not to come up with something that the best among us can make hay with, but a democratic, something which addresses the species. The thing that seemed to me so important about the psychedelic experience was that it happened to me. I wasn't reading John Chrysostom or Meister Eckhart. Exactly. Of course those guys...
Right on. It happened to me. It happened to me, yes.
And so I assume that I am a very ordinary person. Therefore, if it happened to me, it could happen to anyone, and that's really
That's a questionable.
something.
That was a set of assumptions there. One, that you're a very ordinary person, and whether the same chemical given to a dozen people would bring about 11 other people like
Similar
this, and I think it would be not, the outcome would be very different. And that's, I keep getting cast into an evolution of consciousness model about individuals, because there's such marked individual differences as to 3 people come before my guru, one completely goes, and the other 2 get a chapati. And people take psilocybin, and some go like that, and they go like that, and some go like that, and they go like that.
Well, don't you think a good metaphor for it would be sexuality? Apparently there are some people who can kind of take it or leave it, and others of us, it rears its ugly head with great presence. Yet everybody has to
I
come
notice
to
as I get
terms
older,
with
I
it.
move from one of these categories to the other. It leaves so much space in my life. I don't know what to do with my free time.
I hope it never happens to me.
Just clinging. Just clinging.
No, just aspiring to cling. Actually, I live the life of an ascetic. It's my aspirations that are pulling me down. Well, see, the nice thing about this evolutionary argument is that you can sort of make the snake take its tail in its mouth.
Exactly.
Because
It does.
the escape is not into some science fiction future.
No.
It's into an archaic recursion of some sort. We once knew everything we need to know.
Yeah.
So what we are trying to find out is lost knowledge, not new knowledge. And if you direct people back toward 10,000, 20,000 years ago, they see a kind of completion, that an open-ended future is...
It seems to me it's a confusing thing to use time in that way, because it makes the artifacts of that period seem to be valued as opposed to the artifacts of this period. And it seems to me that, I mean, whether you call it not science fiction, but science fiction can also be very compassionate. It can be very historically relevant. It doesn't have to be... it's just using a different set of artifacts to work with, so...
Well, for instance, I see most of what's happened in the 20th century as being unconsciously driven by this fascination with the archaic.
Fascination with the archaic.
Yes, I mean...
Wow, that was, of all the things I predicted you'd say, it wasn't that. Tell me what...
Well, for instance, Impressionism deconstructs the hard image of realism and gives you a feeling toned thing, which was very antithetical to Victorian Edwardian thought. Then Freud and Jung describe different aspects of the unconscious, but to do it, Freud has to talk about repressed, primitive sexual imaginings. Jung talks about folklore, fairy tales, and mythology. Meanwhile, the Dadaists and the Surrealists are saying we have to break up the linear expectations of the bourgeois mind. And then you get at Jackson Pollock and those people who say the image itself has to be thrown out. And then, to my mind, the psychedelic thing in the 60s, based on rock and roll and a boundary-dissolving psychedelic, we, almost by a random walk, are finding our way toward shamanism, tribalism, nomadism.
Go beyond the isms to find out, tell me what we're really finding.
We're finding a world made out of mind rather than stuff.
Great, okay, we're finding a world made out of mind. Every time you describe which mind you find, that's just a limiting condition. I mean, if we just find the thing of mind-created stuff, live in that, then what happens?
Well, I mean, there is a transcendental dimension beyond language. It's just hard as hell to talk about it.
But if you live in it and talk from there, then the forms that it will manifest in become just the forms it manifests in. It's nothing more or less than that.
So you mean you download the unspeakable into language and
Yeah.
let the chips fall where they may?
Well, they don't fall where they may. They fall in a perfectly harmonious pattern.
Well, that's them falling where they may.
Where they may, where they will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so what I'm hearing from you is you have a very strong sense of the pattern, strong enough that your necessarily limited personal viewpoint doesn't tend to get in the way. You can always push the reset to hope button, and then you hope, almost on principle.
Trump has said to me, stand halfway between hope and hopelessness. I thought that was very useful.
And is that...
No.
What is it? It's awe.
It's the ecstasy of total horror and total beauty at the same moment. That's what I feel again and again, Terence. When I'm with somebody dying of AIDS, my God, my heart's breaking. It's horrible. I mean, it's a ghastly the social ostracization, this, that, opportunistic illness and everything. And there's another part of me that's giggling. And I can hardly handle the multifrenia of it all, the sense of the perfection of it all, and the beauty of the moment, and the horrible shit of it, you know?
Well, it all is spun together. Is that because you feel confident that the self is somehow indestructible, or because you don't even ask that question?
You got to watch the words indestructible, because that has a time dimension. I mean, I think that awareness is
But for example, do you think this is the stage upon which all acts are performed, or that we move up
this is
and
one of the
down
stages.
many levels?
Oh, probably infinite number. Because I just look into two minds and I see two different ones. And those are all on just this one. No, I feel like I have this friend Emmanuel, you know, this spook that has no body. And Emmanuel's two lines to me were, death is absolutely safe, first thing. That's a very profound statement. And the next thing he said, it was like taking out the tight shoe. And then I said to him, Emmanuel, what am I doing here? Who made this error? What am I doing on this plane? He said, you're in school, why don't you try taking the curriculum?
And the curriculum is?
Life.
Any life?
It means the exploration of the clinging of mind within the world of projected form.
So the exploring life.
It's the exploring life with it's purposive in the sense of returning back into the Garden of Eden. It's a return. There is a return metaphor underlying all of it.
And I'm sure you're asked this all the time, so am I. Maybe we give different answers. Do you think that this can be done without psychedelics fast enough to have an impact on the global situation?